Every supervision and enforcement agency is looking for credible deterrence. But what is that really? And how do you establish credible deterrence? My name is Art Kostrup, and this is Supervision Strategy. When you talk about deterrence in the everyday meaning of the word, you'd think we'd be talking about making people scared. Making people so scared of your enforcement powers that they rather stick to the rules. But in my experience, when regulators or enforcement experts talk about deterrence, it's not really about evoking fear or other emotions. It's rather a very rational exercise about influencing risk calculations. So for example, let me quote you a phrase from the very worthwhile report by IOSCO on credible deterrence. I'll put a link to the report on the Supervision Strategy blog. Deterrence is credible when would-be wrongdoers perceive that the risks of engaging in misconduct outweighs the rewards, and when non-compliant attitudes and behaviors are discouraged. Now that sounds straightforward enough, but is this risk calculation actually what happens in the real world? I'd say not. Let's say this is an assumption that is only really true if these would-be wrongdoers are purely rational actors who calculate their risks in this manner. And by now we all know for a fact that people, including market parties, are not purely rational. There's greed involved, and ego, fear, limited information, limited time. So these potential wrongdoers are driven by a whole range of other factors as well. So if you want to be an effective regulator influencing them, you want to be taking these other factors into account. Now I would say it still makes perfect sense to try and influence such a risk calculation through credible deterrence, just as long as you don't forget that this is a crucial piece of the puzzle of promoting compliance, but not the entire puzzle. And when it comes to that rational part of the puzzle, I would recommend to have a look at the IOSCO report, because it provides quite detailed insight in all the building blocks that are needed to establish credible deterrence. So, how do you establish credible deterrence according to this report? Let me quote you one more time. Deterrence occurs when persons who are contemplating engaging in misconduct are dissuaded from doing so because they have an expectation of detection, and that detection will be rigorously investigated, vigorously prosecuted, and punished with robust and proportionate sanctions. Now that sounds amazing, but if you want to get a grip on what that actually means, I think it pays to break it down a little bit. So let me give you a few bits and pieces out of the report, and we'll take an example from capital market supervision about market abuse. So how do you deter insider trading, for instance? When it comes to detection, do you have credible technology to spot potential market abuse? If you do, it might make sense to make this explicit to the capital markets, without giving away your algorithms, of course, but just to signal that market abuse will probably be spotted. Do you have a credible whistleblower program? Again, if you got it, flaunt it. Does your organization possess the knowledge to investigate sometimes quite sophisticated forms of market abuse? But also, given what a struggle these investigations tend to be, do you demonstrate the dedication and the track record of actually seeing such an investigation through all the way to the end? Now, when it comes to prosecuting market abuse, international cooperation is arguably the biggest Achilles heel of all. After all, somebody might very easily commit market abuse from another continent even, if they don't really believe that you can get to them when you need to. So making visible that you have effective international cooperation is a crucial part of credible deterrence. And when it actually does come to punishment, does your regime feature actual jail time for market abuse offenses? Can you seize assets, impose punitive damages? So obviously, a lot of building blocks need to be in place to establish credible deterrence. But above all, any effective long-term strategy of credible deterrence is based on a solid track record of actual successful enforcement. So don't focus too much on perception management, because market parties are generally smart enough to see through that. And as I said earlier, credible deterrence is crucial, but it can never be your entire strategy. You will always need more components to actually effectively promote compliance. So, what are your tips on credible deterrence? Let us all know in the comment section, or let me know at supervisionstrategy.com. Until next time, thank you for watching and thank you for working on supervision.